If you've been keeping up with anime and games recently, you might have noticed one thing. China has been popping up a lot. From anime being set in China, to bringing historical Chinese figures back to life, to Chinese games exploding in popularity, it feels like China is seeping everywhere into Japanese media. And the same goes for figures. Some of the biggest releases of 2023 are from Chinese games. Azur Lane seems to be getting a new figure on a weekly basis. Even Japanese anime characters are being influenced by this, with Chinese dress versions being put out for many of them. Hatsune Miku in particular gets a lot of Chinese inspired figures. But how did this happen? How did China have such a sudden rise in the Japanese market? So one thing to note is that not only are a lot of figures getting inspired by Chinese games and imagery, a lot of figures are being made in China. And it's not just that the country is a factory for Japanese figure companies. There are now tons of Chinese companies independently making figures for Japanese anime. Even Japanese companies have opened up branches in China, such as Good Smile Shanghai and Emon Toys. And Tamashi Nations, a Japanese company, opened their very first overseas store in Shanghai. So yeah, China has become an integral part of the figure industry. Because of this influence, imagery from ancient China has been appearing more across numerous figures. Hatsune Miku has a ton of these, like this one from Good Smile Company. It's based off of an illustration inspired by old Chinese paintings, and is of insane quality. But it's not just scales. Prize figures have also been influenced by this, and this trend goes beyond Miku. Many anime like ReZero and Kaguya-sama, which have nothing to do with China, are also given this treatment. Many of them aren't produced by Chinese companies for a Chinese market either. These are all by Japanese companies targeting a Japanese market. So why is China suddenly everywhere in the figure industry? Well, the first reason is that China is the world's factory. Most Japanese companies have worked under a process of developing figure prototypes in Japan and producing them in China. But then China's economy started to explode, and it became more than just a place to make stuff. It was becoming a powerful consumer economy. Some Japanese companies started opening up sub-brands in China to take advantage of the country's mass production capabilities and market. Having branches here also makes obtaining rights to Chinese IP way easier. But because Japan outsourced a lot of the production of their anime, figures, and games to China, it allowed China to see what kind of media was popular in China and Japan and copy it themselves. After all, Genshin Impact is largely inspired by Zelda, and Azur Lane is inspired by Kanko. China's copying of popular Japanese media allowed it to make IP that would be popular in Japan, making this a unique circle of influence and marketing. Basically, this is the result of a soft power trade between Japan and China. And while it's turned anime into a $21 billion industry in China, some in Japan are worried about how this arrangement might allow China to catch up and replace Japan's spot as the leader of this industry. But with the success of figures and anime embracing a romanticized image of China, whatever the result, this trend of Chinese influence is likely to continue.